something today. I want to do a few more questions on complex probabilities, and then the rest of today is to talk essentially about your midterm and to show you all the good stuff that I've got. So I'm going to make up a story where we're going to create a tree diagram and calculate some probabilities when you choose objects, typically two, you can have more if you like, without replacement. So imagine that you have, and we'll do it as, you have 3 red balls and 5 green ones. And they're in a bag. There you go, in there. And you take a ball out the bag and you write its colour down, and then you take a second ball out the bag and you write its colour down. So you could get a red the first time, and you could just by sheer luck or whatever, get a red the second time. So what we're going to do is try and create what's called a tree diagram that represents this. Now in this story, when I pick the first ball, it stays out. That means we call that without replacement. If I brought it out of the bag, looked at the colour, and then put it back in the bag, that would be called with replacement. So you got that without replacement, you use it up. With replacement, it goes back in the bag and could actually be picked out a second time. So you begin your tree diagram with its 2 possibilities, red and green. Now, when the first ball comes out, there are 8 balls in the bag. 3 of those are red, so that's 3 8s, and 5 of them are green, that's 5 8s. That's the first ball. We're doing the without replacement. So now you're looking at, well, what could happen next when you bring out the second ball out of the bag? Well, first thing you have to notice is because it is without replacement, this means a red ball has happened. It's already there. That means there's only 7 balls left in the bag. And since you've used up, in this story at least, one of the reds, the split is now, there's only 2 out of 7 reds and 5 out of 7 greens. And that's the probabilities that the second one, the second ball, could be red or green. But there is another version of that story. The first ball that came out could have been a green ball. Now that means there's still 7 left, but it was a green one that get used up. So now it's going to be 3 out of 7 chances that the next one's a red. And on this side, there's only 4 of them. And why am I calling that B when we all know it's G? And this is basically the construct that we call a tree diagram. What you do to finish that is you follow the pathways to these 4 destinations, and you calculate the probability of each one of them happening, and you do that by multiplying the 2 roads that you took to get there. So it was a 3/8 chance followed by a 2/7 chance, and that gets you 6 out of 56. Now the next one was a 3/8 and a 5/7, and that gets you 15 out of 56. And then it was 5/8 and 3, so 5/8 times a 3/7, and that is also 15 out of 56. And then it finishes with a green and a green. In this case, it's a 5/8 and a 4/7, and that's 20 out of 56. Now that's the tree diagram totally complete. And then you just take the questions the way they go. So for instance, what's the probability that both were green? Well, that route. And the answer, there's a 20 out of 56, which if you divide top and bottom by 4, you get 5 out of 1. Yeah, 5/14. You could say, what's the probability that the second ball was red. Well, I look at this story and I say, okay, when would you get a second ball that's red? Well, it happens here, which we know the answer to that happening is 6 out of 56. And also it happened here. This would be a red ball coming out as the second one. And that's another 15 out of 56. So now you have 21 out of 56. I could even say, what's the probability that the first one is green and the second one is red? First one is green, second one is red. That only happens once. And the answer is that guy. So if you do a without replacement story, this is the tree diagram. And once you've built this, you basically just figure out which guys represent the probability that you're looking for. Are we okay with that? Any questions about the one that I've just done? I'm now going to do the same story and the same probabilities, but with one change. There's going to be a replacement. What that means is that once I bring the ball out and look at the color, it goes back in the bag. And that does change probabilities. So we'll start off with the first one, which won't look really that much different. Because when you're talking about the first ball, both situations are essentially, as far as probability is concerned, is the same. So there's 3 8s, and that one's 5 8s. So 3 out of 8 chance it's a red one, 5 out of 8 chance it's a green one. Now we'll look at the second ball. And this is where the change takes over. Since that ball, once its color is noted, gets put in the bag, the chances of getting a red or a green pretty much stay the same. So first ball came out, it was red, but since you put it back in the bag, the next ball being red is still going to be 3 8s and 5 8s. And green here, right, 5 8s. What's the chance that you're going to get a red one next time? It's still 3 out of 8. And it's still 5 out of 8. Do you notice that the probability of the branches doesn't change when you do a without replacement? So every time you do it, it's still going to be 3 8s for a red and 5 8s for a green. And to finish with, I'm going to find the probability of these 4 destinations. This is red and red, so that's going to be 3 8s times 3 8s, which is 9 out of 64. This one times this one, 3 8s times 5 8s, 1564. These two, 5 8s times 3 is still 1564s. And lastly, green followed by another green. That gives me 25 64s. Now, when you compare these probabilities, you notice that they're different values. You see that? Some are bigger than this, sometimes they're less than this. I hope I mentioned it. If you add up the 4 destination events, right, these are the 4 things that can happen when you take 2 balls out of a bag. When you add these 4 probabilities together, what is the total? And it's always the same number.
1.
Yes. And if it's not 1, can't you use that as a check that you might have screwed up in one of your numbers, one of your fractions? Right, so if it's bigger than 1 or less than 1, at least one of these guys is wrong, or you've done one of your multiplications wrong. But at least it's a way of checking that it's not right. And in this new story, it's still going to be 1. Now, I had 3 probabilities, so let's see what they look like now. If you take the ball out and you don't replace it, the chances that you get 2 greens is 5 out of 14. If you put the green back in, getting 2 greens ends up being this guy here, 25 out of 64. Which one of those 2 fractions do you think is the biggest? Do you think it's easier to get 2 greens if you put the green back in the bag? Or do you think it's easier to get 2 greens if once it's used up, it stays out? Any ideas before I write it down? Do you think this is going to be bigger, less than that guy? Because it's definitely different. It's bigger. Isn't it? It makes sense. Isn't it easier to get 2 greens if you keep the greens in the bag? Right? There's more greens to pick the second time. Now, if you're being asked what's the probability that the second one that came out was red, well, it ends up being this top one, 9 out of 64, and this one here is also the second one being red, which is, isn't it? Is this guy, and that ends up being 24 out of 64, which, what do you get? 8 goes into that. Oh, 3 8s. Oh, and the last one. Probability that the first one was green and the second one was red, and a green followed by red is 3 8s. And that is essentially how you deal with choosing objects, typically with replacement or without replacement. And you could do this with cards, with beads, with almost anything you can think of. Okay, now I've got them side by side. Is there anything you want to ask before we move on? Okay. I assume that's a good sign. Right. Let's get this next phase sorted out. I had things set up, but I had to close all of it off. So you'll give me a few moments, I'll get up and running. And we're going to talk about your midterm. And after we've gone over the details of what to expect, or can I just throw open to questions and whatever? No, I think I'm ready. Okay, now who knows what's going to happen when I do this based on what already has happened? And in the chat that I need to know about. Okay. You should be looking at our Canvas site. I'll put it over to student view. There. Are you looking at our Canvas site for our class? I see a nod, I know I'm seeing it. I see a thumbs up, thanks. Right, just make it a little bit bigger because I don't know what kind of size screen you're using. There we go. So, essentially I'm going to go through a number of these things and show you what's going on. First thing, obviously, is it's on Tuesday, and it's from 1 till 4. And that's the time you've got to physically do your test. And then there's an extra half hour to get your working, which will be on paper, onto a PDF so that you can send it to me. So if we click on this fella, fingers crossed it's going to be working. There we go. I've put together here kind of summary of what I think is important things. When you turn up on class, what do you mean 5? Oops, I already seen a typo. It's 1 till 4. My apologies. Right. There will be a link to a midterm exam. I'll show you what that looks like. And you have 3 hours to complete it and there's going to be 9 questions. Although some of the questions will be A's and B's. And the sections that you're going to get your questions from are these 9 sections. Now you're guaranteed 1 question from every one of these topics. And they will be very similar to your homework questions that you did in WebAssign. And you'll be writing your answers down on paper rather than just, putting a final answer into WebAssign. And that way I can get to see your working and give you partial credit if you were doing most of it right, but maybe you hit the wrong button in a calculator somewhere. The questions are not all worth the same. Some questions are worth more than others. And when you do the finance questions, which are basically 11.1 to 11.6, you will be given the formula that I want you to use in each question. So your job will be just to read the story, take the formula that I give you, and put in the right numbers, do all the calculations, and try and show me every line of working you can. There might be a temptation for you, especially in homework, and I can understand it, where you just do it on one big go, hit enter, and it's 14.2 and you write 14.2 down. Unfortunately, in a test, if you get it wrong especially, I have nothing to give you points on, because all I know is you wrote 42 and not 14.2. So write down what the working would be. This is what my calculation is, where all the numbers go in the right place. And then you can do the calculator. There's going to be a Zoom lesson just like today. Here's a link to it. It's just a normal link that we use. What you are not allowed to do, you're not allowed to communicate with any person, living or dead. So you can't have seances with a famous statistician or math person. You can't phone a friend. You can't email people. You can't go to blogs. You can't go to tutoring sites. You can't communicate. And I will be watching you. And that includes having friends in physically. So you're going to do it on your own. You're not allowed to use sophisticated software packages such as Mathematica. If you don't know what that is, then you're probably not going to have a problem because you won't be using them. All WebAssign access will be cut off when the test starts. So you won't be able to go into WebAssign and say, oh, that's just like question 4. I remember doing that. I'm going to nip in and see what I did. That's not going to happen because WebAssign will be gone until after the test, and then I'll put it back up. Canvas will be gone. So all those videos and notes that were in Canvas that you might have been using, hopefully you have, past videos, whatever, they'll all disappear as well. So what are you left with? You're left with your TI-84 calculator or whatever calculator you're using, and any notes that you've written. So if you've got good notes, that's great. If you've got bad notes, you might want to start making some, and that is allowed. So anything
Professor,
that's you physically wrote down, go for it.
Is there any way to access past homework from WebAssign?
Yes.
Like past homework questions and see what the questions were and the answer and all that?
Yes. Hold that thought and I shall show you where that is as soon as we finish doing this little bit, right? So for preparation for the midterm, good idea. Okay, what went wonky there? Celeste, we got power? Okay, I just had a little power fluctuation there, scared the EBGBs out of me. This is not a good time to lose power. There we go. No idea what the heck I'm doing right now. I think I've lost something. Okay, try this. Oh dear, that's not good. Okay, I have not too sure what is working and what is not. So this is not good. This is not good. What are you lot looking at right now? What can you see? Because I don't know what the heck you can see.
We're looking at you.
That's not much fun. Okay, let's see if I can get back to screen two. If you didn't catch me with a power surge and my screens went blank and things disappeared and all sorts of scary things. So anyway, where was I? I was talking about you get 3 hours, don't talk to anybody. You can use your calculator. Definitely you'll need that in notes, any notes that you make. Someone said, can we go and look at our past homework? And I said, yes, and I'll show you once this is finished. Bear in mind that this 3 hours is testing your ability to do the work. It's not testing how good you are at looking up stuff. If you have to look up every single question and find some notes on it and then read through the notes and then try and figure out what you meant with your notes, you'll never get the test done. You'll run out of time. So notes are very helpful, but they shouldn't take over just knowing how to do it anyway. That's, I guess, what I'm saying. Now, when you finish your exam, you get one last task, and we'll be talking about this in more detail, but essentially you're going to use your phone to take pictures of your working. The piece of software that does that is called Adobe Scan, but you can use any other software, including your printer, if it's got a scanner. You turn your stuff into a PDF and you upload it to this guy here by, I'm going to change that as well, because that's not right. That's 4:30. Okay, so far, I think so good. So let's do where's my homework kind of thing, right? So you hold on for a few moments. I'll have to load that up because it's not there anymore. Just curious, what do you see when I'm doing this? What are you looking at right now?
Sign-in screen.
Okay. Oh, you'll never see the password, so it's safe. These little stars. No, my password isn't 8 stars. Okay, here we go. This is 107. Check. I'll try student view. Are you still seeing everything that I'm typing in, or has it disappeared? It's still there. Okay. So if you look at this here, if you go past assignments and you click on it, here's your past assignment homework. If you click on randomly, say this one, here are the questions. And it even tells you what the right answer would be. Well, I did in that case. That's probably because I did this as a practice. But I guess if you click on view key, there we go. It'll tell you what the right answer is. So you can go and look at past assignments and see what you did for them. I think that's what you were asking. And I can't remember who it was now. Was it Kayla or someone who was asking?
Yep, thank you.
Is that what you were looking for?
Yes, indeed.
Okay. Okay. All right, so let us now return to Canvas. And I'm going to go home. And I'll try student view again, so it's more like what you would see. And we've just looked at this one here. Now, if you click on this villa, it's kind of self-evident what this is. I put it on. I'll click on it. And I have done some notes with examples of questions similar to what you might have done in your homework, but essentially showing you examples of simple interest, compound interest, the consumer loan section, annuities, and lastly, amortization. So what these questions are, there's a little story, blah, 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 all the stuff you're going to use, and an example of it being done. And then if I guess if I close this one, I did a second one on probability. So how you calculate probabilities, expected value, complementary probabilities. Remember the little table with all the different ways 2 dice can happen?
My lights are flickering
Events
pretty
with
bad. Is this going to be saved if I lose power?
This video will get saved,
Okay.
provided I don't lose power. So you'll have to go and check out. Well, what you're looking at right now is in Canvas. So if you go into Canvas, you'll be able to look at all these PDFs. And the video of me going over them will also be in Canvas. But I'll be talking about other things as well that you might want to hear. So I am not, yeah. Let's just not have any power cuts, right? Let's positive thinking. I'm not going to get cut off. Hopefully you don't. Right, conditional probabilities and test for independence. There we go. There's one of the tree diagrams I did today. So there's another example of it. And that's just hopefully something that you'll find useful. You can choose to look at that or not. It's totally up to you. So if I go back to there, we're now going to look at this program that I keep mentioning called Adobe Scan. And what I've got here is a video link to download. It's a video and a link to download Adobe Scan onto your phone. So if you click on this, I think I need to do something here. Kind of wary right now doing anything. Okay. Here it goes. Well, hello everyone. What I'm going to do in this short video is explain how you can upload a piece of software called Adobe Scan onto your. So, can you imagine watching that video and it tells you what I've done? You might know, or you might guess that I like a program called QI. So if you click on these, they are really funny. So watch them. Not when you've got time.
Professor, I just see your desktop view.
Yeah, me too.
Oh, so you didn't see that? Okay, so I'm going to have to do an out and an in again. Okay, out, in. Oh, are you looking at Adobe Scan now?
Yeah.
Okay, so basically I was just playing this
Your
video
phone,
that you'll be able to
an
play
Android
yourself.
phone or a Mac
And it will
phone.
tell you.
And this is the software that you're going to use to copy that you're working from test one.
So you can watch that video and it just takes you through how you upload Adobe Scan. So that's like a help video. And there's some written information up there. And there's a click here. And I'm not want to click it because I might screw up what's going on. But if you click on that link, it'll take you to the place where you can actually get Adobe Scan, right? So you can download it onto your computer. It works on your Android phone and it works on Apple phones. So you would have to do this from your phone so that when you click the link, it goes to the place where you can download the software. If you choose to use the software, you can, if you've got other ways of doing it, that works too.
Can we upload it on a tablet, for example?
I have no idea, but I bet you yes, would be the short answer. And because most tablets are Android driven or Apple driven. So yeah, so as long as the software is one of those two, it should be fine. This is another video that I'm not going to show you, but it basically is.
Okay, now I need to take a second
It shows you how to do
picture
it,
of the
right?
last bit of instructions. As you can see, the circle here's turned blue. I can snap my photo, and it's added to the document right here. The number turned from 1 to 2. So I can tap this and do some edits. When you take a photo, it doesn't have to be perfect because the Adobe Scan.
Can I ask a question?
So it good. Yes.
So for my work, I use something called Tiny Scanner. And long as it's a PDF and it's the paper of notes, does it matter if it's not from Adobe?
Not one bit. Not one bit.
Okay,
So
thank
if
you.
you've got a piece of software that you use it. This is because not everybody even knows what this is like. So this is your go-to guy if you haven't got stuff, right? If you've already got something, you don't need to go near this guy. Some of you might even have a printer that does scanning, in which case you don't need to go near this either, right? But for those that don't have those features or those things, that's what this is for. So imagine you've got your test. Oh, where will your test be? There it is there. Well, sort of. The PDF of the midterm exam is here. Let's click and see what happens. Nope, there's a placeholder for it. In other words, that will be your exam. So when you click on that, the exam will appear. But right now, for obvious reasons, it's not there. And let's say you've done your exam, right? You've written all your notes, you've done Adobe, it's a PDF. You have to get it to me. And that's where this is. You click on this fella. Oh, let's do it as a student view. It's pretty easy to get your working to me. What you need to do is click on that link, start your assignment. Now you've got this PDF stored somewhere. I would keep it on my desktop, but wherever it is, you hit choose file. You pick up the guy that has your test in it. You hit open, and then you submit assignment. That's it, it's done. So, you want to see it again? So, hit the assignment, choose file, pick the PDF wherever you stored it. It could be in your desktop, could be in documents, wherever you put it. Hit open. Once you're sure it's there. Oh. Now, Adobe Scan puts everything. So if you have 5 pages or 10 pages, whatever it is, it puts it on a single PDF. So you make sure that whatever way it gets to me, it's one PDF, not 10 little ones. That takes forever in the day to do. This here is already up and running for you. That means, and I suggest strongly that you do this, why don't you do some practice runs at just using Adobe Scan and turning it into a PDF and then uploading it. And once you upload it into this place here, you can check that it's there. And then when the day of the exam comes, you just upload it and it rubs out the old one and all I will see is a new one. So you might want to take pictures of, hello, this is my test page, right? Get Adobe Scan to do what Adobe Scan does or whatever software you're doing. Turn it into a PDF, figure out how you're going to do it. This is just one way to do it. It's on your phone, but your phone can be quite clunky because it's a tiny screen and it's hard to see. And what I've done, suggested, and what I've done when I had to do it, is I sent it to myself as an email attachment. And then I go into my computer, I go to my email, find the email that I sent to myself, download it to my desktop, and then it's good to go. Because I find it easier if I've got a big screen and keyboards and mouse than trying to foot about with a tiny little phone where you can hardly see what you're saying. So that would be my suggestion for doing that. Okay, a lot of information, but it's in this video when you go and look at it again. And a lot of it is physically here for you to watch and to look at. So have we got any more questions about the journal format? How's it going? You know, whatever.
I have a question, please.
Yes.
I didn't understand. Are we gonna have like exam in a PDF format, or we are going to have it in a website site?
You are going to have it as a PDF format, and you're going to find your exam in Canvas, and it's going to be that link that says the PDF of the midterm exam is here. So when you click on that on the day and the time that the exam starts, that link will have the exam in it. When you click on it, you'll be able to see a PDF with all the questions that you'll be doing in your midterm. So your midterm is not on website.
So the way you got answers from us, it's only photos from Adobe Scan, is it right?
Correct.
So that means that we need to do it that way that you can look like we need to highlight our answers, right? For you to see
that would certainly help, and show as much working as you can, so that if you get a question wrong, I can give you partial credit, because I can look at it and say, she did the question right, she just did, you know, she hit the wrong button on the calculator or something. You know how easy it is to do that. But if I can see that you're writing the formula down and the right numbers are going into that formula, and I can see the working that you would be doing, then you can get most of the points if all you did was a silly button error in calculation kind of thing.
Okay, then I have another question. Do we have to write down all questions?
No. You just say number one. Just write the number one and the working with the answer. And number two, but only the working and the answer. You do not need to copy the question down. I know what the questions are, so I don't need to know what they are again.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ash. I'm making sure because another teacher.
I like your questions because I bet you other people would probably have asked the same question. So you're helping more than just yourself. These are good questions.
Just making sure. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? I don't know if that's good or bad. It either means I did a really good job of telling you what's happening, or I've confused you so much that you don't even know where to start. Let's go for the former, right? You pretty much
I don't know about
what's
everybody
going
else,
to
but
happen.
I'm just kind of going through and then making some notes for myself so that when I'm in the middle of my major panic of taking a test, that I don't forget everything you just said, even though it's right there. I'm like making my
Okay. You do what you know, whatever works for you is always been my advice. If it works for you, you do it. It doesn't need to work for anyone else. I'm ready now, I think, to move on to our next phase. And so I'm going to close this off. I'm still getting some real weird windows here, but I've got some chat. Maybe I've got some chat questions. Yeah, it looks like I'm not the only one that's getting the power flickering thing. So hopefully you're going to be here for most of the time and I don't get cut off. Okay, where was I? I was here. Fingers crossed that
I'm sorry, I have one more question.
Go for it.
For example, today it is pretty windy in Kingston, and I think probably I will have a blackout, because my light is blinking. So
gotcha.
The question is, if I have a blackout on Tuesday, what do I need to do?
Well, the first thing is that you will swear a lot. And that's the first thing I would be thinking about doing. The next thing you're going to do, oh God, what are you going to do? You're going to use your phone and send me an email explaining why things have disappeared. And then we'll just have to figure something out. Really, it's hard to plan for that one. I don't know, really. I mean, if it just flickers and comes back, there's no big deal. If you need another 5 minutes because you've lost it, I'll just add 5 minutes on at the time and you can still do the test in 3 hours, right? if there's a weather forecast that's coming up and tells me there's going to be gales and all sorts of horrible things on the day, that's something I could at least plan for. And I might be able to send you out an email telling you what my decision is. Let's just go for nothing goes wrong. That's the best one. But we'll figure something out if something really bad happens, which I hope it does.
Okay.
Okay, I am ready to start. Could we do questions on? So we basically have two sections, the finance sections and the probability sections. Is there questions, homework questions or topic questions that you want? I don't want to just have you hanging here because you're hanging here because you have to. So I want to be of use to you because, you know, an extra hour getting your homework done, an extra hour asking me questions, whatever you want to do. So why don't we say hi right now? And if you're pretty much happy that you know what the heck's going on and you just want to get started on your own revision, then I'll let you go. And the ones who wait and stay, you can ask me your questions. And once I've done what you're happy with, you can leave. And I'll just keep doing it until the last person has got whatever they need. So you're saying hi right now to get attendance. And it could well be hi and bye-bye for some of you, and that's fine. And for those that hang about, I'm going to say, right, start giving me questions. What's your problem?
I have one question.
Go for it.
You said that you'd be like we're taking the test during class hours and stuff.
Yes.
And we have until 4 to take it.
Yeah, and then you have an extra half hour to do all the camera stuff and get it into Canvas.
Okay. Because I have to pick up my kids usually at 2:30 when we have class. So I should probably get someone to pick them up then. Because the test is on Tuesday.
Okay. Right. That would probably be the easiest way to do that.
Okay, my boyfriend's off that day, so then I'll have him pick him up.
That's what boyfriends are for, right? For doing stuff.
Yeah, he went back and forth twice to get me a burrito today because I messed it up.
Well, you have got a nice boyfriend. You tell him he's doing a great job. So if he can do that for you, that would save issues. Does anyone have a time conflict? Like they have to start work at 4 or whatever? Is there anybody else who's got a situation where the time slot
I have a question.
isn't working for you? Yes, Naja.
I have on Tuesdays another lesson on with English, and it starts 3:30 p.m. Can I leave it like 30 minutes earlier than like
You leave the test whenever you are finished. So if you did that test in an hour because it was dead easy and you knew all the answers, your day is over. What I suggest for you, Nadia, and you'll have to send me an email for this, is I suggest for you that you contact me and you start the test at 2, not at 2, you start the test at 12 so that you'll be finished and not interfere with your English class. That would be my suggestion.
Could I possibly start at 12 as well?
Okay, I will
For
try
sure.
to make it.
Right, I mean, if it works for you,
So-
that's fine. Taryn, all you need to do is, because I know my limitations. You email me, and what will happen for you, Taryn, and if Nadia does it as well, is that at 12, I will send you an email back, and it will have the PDF attached to it, so you can start the test that way. And then when the class starts proper, you just join the Zoom meeting.
Yeah,
as
I
normal,
just
right?
my kids get home at 3:15 and they both have special needs, so there's no way I'm gonna get to do this if they're home. I mean, I might, but there might be a kid pulling my hair. So
Okay. So
yeah, so if I
12
could start at
o'clock
12,
is a
that would
better
be
thing.
great. Yeah,
Not a problem.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, I'm pretty flexible about that. You might end up only needing 2 hours, which is fine. It means you
yeah,
finished
probably
early, you
it could
know,
be, yeah.
have a coffee. But let's not work in the assumption that that's true, because it might not be, right? So you want all 3 hours. Right, more questions. It can be questions now about topics.
ask
It can be
questions.
questions about anything.
It's
Yes, Nadja.
when we will be done with the test and we will make photo of our scratch paper with Adobe Scan, do we need to send it to you right away, or it's we can do it like about 11 p.m.
No, you have to send it to me right away.
right away?
And yeah, so as soon as you've done it, because what is going to happen is that you'll upload it into that Canvas thing I showed you, right? And I check it to make sure that it's arrived. And then once I've checked it, I'll say, you're good to go, Nadja, bye-bye.
Okay.
Because if you might upload it and I'll look at it and it ain't working, right? You've only gave me 1 page and I know there's 5, or I can't read it because it's white, you know, the lighting was horrible. Then I will tell you that and you'll go and have another shot at it. So you don't leave until I've said, yep, I've got it. It's good to go. Bye-bye.
Okay.
So that's, and yeah, you can't wait till 11. Not that you would ever think about it, but couldn't you cheat and just get all the answers and then at 11 o'clock send the working to me? So we're not doing that.
Okay.
Any more questions?
I have a
I'll
math
keep going
question.
until I. Perfect. I like math questions. What's your math question?
I think it was for a homework assignment. I can give you the assignment. It was chapter 11.1, interest part B, and then I can read it out for you if you'd like.
Right, I'm good to go. Tell me it.
Okay. If Rita receives $42.44 in interest for a deposit earning 4% simple interest for 220 days, what is the amount of her deposit? And I think I just couldn't, either my equation was wrong or I did it incorrectly.
It could be your equation, but it could also be, I guess, the way you did it. So if you look at the amount, I'm trying to think of what the letter they use in the formula. I'll call it A for the time being. The amount of money that you've got, it's basically going to be principal, rate, and time, right? Plus your principal. And that becomes the formula P. I think it's 1 plus RT. So that's the formula that you should have used. Did you use a formula that looks like that?
I think so.
Okay, so we'll move on to part B then. In this particular question, you know, turn it in space. So, let me redo that one again. The interest is PRT. That's the one we should be doing. Forget that. That's for a totally different question. But since you'll be told the formula, you shouldn't worry about that. In this case, I know the interest is 42.44. I don't know P. I do know that the interest rate is 4%. And I know that the time is 220 days, but time has to be a fraction or a part of a year. Oh, I seem to remember. Who was it? Someone told me there was a rule about when there's 360 days and when there are 365 days in a year. Now, I know there's always 365, but it seems in some of these questions, they pretended that there were 360. So I'm not sure which one that is. So let's say it's the most obvious one. The fraction of a year that 220 days is that guy. So I know the interest is 42.44 cents. I have P. I'm just basically going to multiply all this together. So see what that looks like. It's going to be 0.04 times 220 divided by 365. And I get 0.024109. I don't know why I'm writing all there. So to get P, you take this number and you divide it by that number. Since that's in my calculator, I can just go 42.44. I'm going to divide it by the answer, so I don't need to write all that again. And the answer I come up with is 1,760, and to the nearest cent, about 30 cents. But there's always some rounding off issues. It could be 28, could be 34, but it's pretty much that number with a little wiggle room. Now, if it didn't work with this calculation, if the answer says no, then for some reason, sometimes they pretend that a year has got 360 days in it. I have no idea where that came from. I've never seen it anywhere else except in this textbook. But I would go for the 365. And if I give you any question in the exam, the midterm, 365 days always. There's not a choice. Did that help?
Huge one.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. As I say, I'll just keep going till you've had all the questions you want answered. I'm looking for another question now. Doesn't need to be a specific question. It can simply just be, can we go over whatever, conditional probabilities, or can we go over card questions, or
I remember, and I found that.
whatever.
I found the number for you. Remember? So when they're looking for ordinary, they do the year is 360. When they want exact, they do 365. That's why there's that weird number. I don't know if it's everywhere. I just know it's in this math book. That's what it says on their page. Is that if they ever say ordinary in their math problems on it, that's what they want is 360. But if it says exact interest, they want you to use 365. Who knows?
So let's make your life easy. Any questions I give you, 365 every time. So you don't need to look for ordinary or exact or kind of code words that remind you which rule it is. I mean, to be realistic, it is 365. No normal situation would ever use 360, except this textbook.
Professor,
Okay, what we got next?
I have another math question,
Yes,
but if other people have some, I can
go
wait.
for it. Has anybody else got one they want to do?
Can I do one?
Yeah, Gabe, what's yours?
All right, so this is from 11.6, the amortization. The question says, how much interest to the nearest dollar would be saved on the following loan if the home were financed for 15 rather than 30 years? And then,
So it's a 30-year mortgage question, essentially. And what's the interest rate on the 15-year?
so it says a $506,000 home bought with a 20% down payment, and
Okay, that's important.
and the balance financed for 30 years at 5.1%.
And I'm
Professor,
assuming
can
that
you
the
share
50
your paper?
Oh, darn it. I wasn't sharing, was I? I thought I was, but I wasn't. Right. So we want the interest, or I think you said the difference in interest. Is that the phrase?
How much interest would be saved on the following loan if the
Okay, so the interest being saved is the difference between the interest that you'd pay on a 30-year compared to a 15-year. And did they give you a different interest rate for the 15-year, or is it still 5.1% in both questions? If it doesn't specify, then we have to assume it's the same.
Yeah, I think no. It's not different for the 15 years. It's the same for both.
Okay. Realistically, I mean, that doesn't matter. The question is what it is. But realistically, if you do a 15-year, you'll get a better interest than if you do. It'll be a higher interest, but it sometimes anyway, but it'll be a better net effect. So 20% down, first thing I'm having to take care of. Right. So if you pay 20, another way of looking at that is, don't you still owe 80%? In other words, that's going to be your loan. So let's find out how much you actually borrowed from the bank. 80% is a decimal times a 506,000 whole. So your loan is 404,800. Okay, we got that. Now, there's the amortization formula. I never memorize these things. They're too darn ugly. Has anybody got it handy? Otherwise, I'm going to have to look it up. Nobody got it handy? Let's go hunting for it then. Oh, that's a good idea. Let me show you how I would go hunting for that formula. If we were doing
I have the formula, but
Yeah, I just
oh, okay. Tell me, it's M equals
M equals P parentheses R over N, end parentheses, all over 1 minus parentheses 1 plus R over N, end parentheses, negative N, or to the power of negative NT.
okay. Hey, I kind of sort of knew what was coming. Okay, I'll put some brackets around that. Now, in this story then, imagine this was me doing it as a test question. I might have set it up a little bit differently. I would have said P equals 404, 800. I would have told, basically you're telling me that the interest rate is that number. Time is going to be 15 years the first time. And later on, I'll do another one where the time is 30, right? You're borrowing the same amount of money, but you're paying it off over a different mortgage length, 15-year mortgage as opposed to 30-year mortgage. And then I would write down who my formula is. And although you're given this formula in the question, it's very helpful, in my brain anyway, it's very helpful to just write the thing down, especially with these guys. And what I would have is 404, 800 times 0.051 divided by 15 years. And underneath that, 1 take away 1 plus 0.051 divided by 15 to the power of negative. Well, I should be able to do this in my head, isn't it? 12 times. Oh, I should have put this down. It's kind of obvious they're always 12, right? 12 times 15. I'll just do that as a single calculation. Okay, so it ends up being 180. Now, some of you are really, really good at calculators, and you could do that in one go. I am not one of those people. So I would do it as a 1 and a 2. So on the top is going to be whatever this is. So I go to my calculator and I can go 404,800 times 0.051 divided by 15, and I get the answer 1376.32. Now, when I'm grading this formula, information, where everything went, yeah, that answer is the same
Professor?
answer I got. Yes.
Professor, should, in the parentheses, shouldn't it be, correct me if I'm wrong, shouldn't it be 0.051 over 12?
Oh, N. Darn it in space. Oh, that's a good point. It is over 12. But if I now put in the right answer, right, can you see that I would have been able to tell that you put in the wrong number, but I could see what you did wrong, and I'd say, like I just did, you went and read 15 and put in 12. Easy mistake, not a biggie, fixable. Right, this one at the bottom, 1 takeaway, brackets, 1 plus 0.051. One of my biggest mistakes when I do questions is I get ahead of myself and I'm thinking of what the next line is like before I've really made sure that I've done the one that comes before. And now I can take the top answer, which hopefully is 1720.4, and divide it by the bottom answer. And whoa, that's expensive. Wow. Well, it is a 15-year loan, isn't it? And it is a lot of money. It's 400,000. Okay. Now, that is just the interest on the 15-year loan. Great. So let's see if I can do the 30-year loan. I'll put a big 15 to remind me. If you do the 30-year loan, it's the same formula. I won't bother writing it down this time. It's 404,800. This number here is 0.051 over 12. I got that right. This fellow here is 1 takeaway, 1 plus 0.051 divided by 12, but negative 360. So that's essentially the major change. So I got a 1 and I got a 2. Since the top one is the exact same calculation, I'm not going to do it again. I know what it is. The bottom one, however, is a new set of numbers. So 1 takeaway bracket, 1 plus 0.051, close the brackets, to the power of negative 360. And nobody saw my mistake. 1 takeaway bracket, 1 plus 0.051 divided by 12, that was better. Raised to the power of negative 360. And we get 0.7827. That's 1720.4 divided by the answer. And I get 2197.86. Now, these only represent how much you pay a month. We haven't found out what the interest that you pay. And the interest is essentially the difference between the total amount that you pay minus what you borrowed. So let's do the 15-year one. You're paying it for 15 years, 12 times a year, and you're paying 322,226. So by the time I've paid off my house, I will have paid the bank 15 times 12 times a monthly mortgage. And the answer I get is $580,006.80. Now the 30-year mortgage might seem better because you're not paying so much, but that's not the whole story, because you're paying over 30 years. And that typically means you pay more in the long run. So 30 times 12 times 2197.86. And in this case, 791,2 $229.60. Now I can get the answer to the extra interest in two ways. Since they're only interested in the extra you pay, see if you take this away from that, isn't that the extra interest that you pay? So $791,229.60 compared to only $580,006.80, and that would be the extra interest. And so I make that $791,229.60, take away $580,006.80, and you end up paying an extra $211,222.80. That's the extra interest. So that's basically the only answer I think that you write down. Now I said there's two ways of doing that. Couldn't I take this number, subtract it against the loan amount, and that would be the amount of interest I paid here. Then I could take this number and subtract it from the loan amount, and that's the interest I'd pay here, and then subtract one interest from the other, and it would end up being the same number. So you could have got it that way as well. Did that help?
Yeah, it did. Thank you.
There's just an awful lot in that question, and be careful that you don't do something like I did right at the start.
Yeah, I apologize. That took up a lot of time. My bad.
Nah, that's fine. Some questions take a lot of time, some don't. You can imagine that a question like this, you'd probably only be asked one of the two, not both. Yeah, like if you took a 30-year mortgage, what would you do with it, kind of thing? How much interest would you pay? Something like that.
Professor, I have a monthly finance charge question.
Ooh, they're definitely awkward. Right, which one is it?
Okay. Calculate the monthly finance charge for the credit card transaction. Assume it takes 10 days for the payment to be received and recorded, and that the month is 30 days long. Your balance is $300. The rate is 17%. The payment is $250. And it says average daily balance method. And we can't see the paper that you have.
Okay, I'll put that up right now. Well, actually I won't yet, because I want to show you how that would work out. If you want to see, because very often you need to read some things to do with that. So I'm going to close out the student view. And okay, that's not good. Okay, that's okay, that worked. Right, so this is, can you remember what section this was in again?
Yeah, this is chapter 11.2, installment buying.
Okay, 11.2. I'm going to go on to the ebook. And the key here is the phrase average daily balance. So as soon as this thing's up and running, we'll look at this fella. 11, isn't it? There we go. Okay, I'll now move over and show you the technique. There is a formula for getting average daily balance. So skip by annuities, sinking funds, in your own words, amortization, present day value, monthly payments. Let's check if it's this one. No, right. I'm trying to find. They hide them so well. That's a monthly payment for the house, so I've overshot it. No. What was that number again you said? 11? 11.3?
It is 11.2 installment buying.
Okay. So I was way, way wrong. 11.2. Annuities? Good grief. Oh, I saw it. I saw 11.2. What on earth is this doing? There we go. No, it's not that one. It's not 11.2. It's geometric series. Try up here. That's it. Okay, so we are looking at installment buying, aren't we? So what on earth was I doing there? And it was credit card interest. So I think that might do it. And we were doing average daily balance. And here is the guy that we're looking at. So P is the previous balance. So I'm writing that down right now. So P in this case was $300. That's the previous balance. Then you have a thing called the adjusted balance. I'm just essentially following their instructions. And the adjusted balance is the 300, take away the 250 payments. So the adjusted balance is going to be $50. And then the average daily balance. It's the original amount, that's $300 for 10 days. And then the reduced $50 for the rest of the month, which in our question is going to be 20 days. And that's going to be the adjusted daily balance. Okay, I think I've got enough to zoom over to the screen and show you what I'm writing. Try and make some sense out of it. Okay, so in this story, you had $300. That's what was on your credit card. And we are going to use what's called the average daily balance method. So what we had is $300 and 10 days wait period, I guess, out of a month that had 30. The interest rate is going to be 17% and we paid $250. So I started with 300. The thing that they call the adjusted balance is how much you paid against that, which is 250. And the way this works, although it might seem unfair to you, is that even although you paid some of it off, they're still going to charge you 10 days at this price. And they're going to charge you the other, in this case, 20 days, as if you owed that amount. And the formula for calculating that is basically 10 days at $300 plus 20 days at $50 divided by the 30 days in the month. And that number is your average daily balance. So let's see what that looks like. 10 days where you owed 300 plus 20 days where you only owed 50 divided by the 30 days in the month. And so you're going to be charged as if that's what you owed for all 30 days. Well, that's a good start. That's the average daily balance. Your interest is your principal, your rate, and your time. The principal in this case is going to be your average daily balance. Your interest rate is going to be 17%. And your time, well, isn't your time going to be whatever number of days of the year you're being charged for? So can I make the assumption that there wasn't any weird words and it's 30 days out of 365? Would that seem reasonable for the month? So that's how much money they're assuming that you typically owe them, times that for 30 days out of a year. And that's your interest rate. So 133.33 times the interest rate times the 30 days out of 365, and the answer I came up with is about 186. So it's almost nothing at all, really. So it's the structure of how that was created, which is important. So you needed to find this weird guy called the average daily balance. What I did there is I found the section in the ebook. I scrolled down to the bottom until I seen a question that looked like it, and I tried to follow their instructions. $300 for 10 days. You paid off the money, that's $50, called the adjusted balance, for the rest of the month. This calculation is the average daily balance. Then you can use the PRT formula, with T being what fraction of the year, in this case 30 days out of 365. Now, if that question isn't quite the same answer, it's because they did that again. And will we assume, well, you don't need to assume because I'm telling you, if I give you a question like this, the year will only have 365 days, no matter what the question is or the context, right? 365 for everybody. Okay, did that
I
help?
get it. I was 1 cent off in my answer, and it was wrong.
Oh, that's not off. That's probably rounding off. That's if I put 2 more 3 there, right, or 1 less 3, I would get that. So you essentially you did the question right. If you did that in the test, you're getting all the points. So don't worry. Oh, curiosity, was it 365 or 360? Can you remember what you used?
I think I used 365.
Okay, so that's it. If the answer is 1 cent off, and I don't know if you've got the interest to do it, but you might want to check the 360 because that might have actually accounted for it.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. I do not lose sleep over cents, especially in calculations with 8 decimal places. You know there are going to be some rounding off errors, and different calculators even work to different accuracy. So you could end up with 2 different people doing exactly the same question, but because their calculators are different, their answers are a couple of cents out, and that's okay. That's not an issue. Okay, what's next? Any more questions?
I had one. If no one else is going,
Go for it.
it was actually number 2 on the calculating complex probabilities.
Okay, number 2 in the calc complex. Right, let me go and load that guy up. We'll see what it looks like.
All right.
Right. The one I've got may be slightly different from yours, but it shouldn't be a big issue. Yeah, this question is not that hard to do once you realize what they're asking you. And it's, oops, wrong button. hit the right button. Come on. Go here. Basic. There we are. This is my version of that question. Right, so they are asking it, if it's the right one, what's the probability of the complement of D given that A2 has happened? Okay. The way you read that is, look at this diagram. Can you see the line that has A2 on it, this one here?
Yes.
What's the probability that you get D hat given that this has happened? So they're basically telling you to find this spot and then just travel along that line. So your answer would simply just be 0.5.
So 1/2. Okay.
Yeah.
Gosh.
That's it. Just trying to understand what it's very cryptic. It's saying, what's the probability that the complement of D harms, given that you already know that you're at A2? So you're already there. That would be that one. I mean, if they went and said D hat given A3, you would have said 0.3. And if they'd said D hat given A2, A1, I should say, you say 0.6. And for instance, that question there's the same question, but this time they phrased it differently. They're saying, which path number would that be? Okay, so what's the probability you get D hat given A1 is harmed, right? So that's harmed. D hat is this one. So in this case, you put the pathway number rather than the probability. So it's pathway 2 that gets you to here.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
It was just
What's our next guy?